welcome to on Piscataway. This is Wednesday, April 4th, and we're on the air live. If you'd like to speak with me or my guests, please call us at any time during this hour-long program at 732-562-2305. My guests this evening include at-large Councilwoman Gabrielle Cahill, Middlesex County Freeholder Kenneth Armwood, and Township Attorney Jim Clarkin. Gabrielle Cahill was first elected in 2008 to an at-large seat on the Township Council. She was re-elected in 2012 and 2016. Gabrielle serves on the Public Safety and Personnel Committees. And welcome back to the show, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Mayor.
Freeholder Kenneth Armwood is a lifelong resident of Piscataway. He began his political career on a school board at the age of 19. He later served on our Township Council for 9 years and was pivotal in the renovation of the Quibbletown Park. Freeholder Armwood, for the past 5 years, he has chaired the county's Business Development Education Committee. And welcome to our show, Ken.
Thank you, Mayor.
Jim Clarkin has been a lawyer since 1977, served on the zoning board as attorney from 1986 to 2002, and since then has served as a township attorney and as the assistant township attorney. He practices and concentrates on land use development and municipal law. He has handled numerous redevelopment projects for the township. And welcome back to the show, Jim.
Thanks again, Mayor.
Boy, we got a star power on the show today. A lot of wealth of information. I thought basically we are going to have some clips of some things throughout the a month that transpired. Some clips of the Congressman Pallone, the March storms, the damage, and some things at the Senior Center, and obviously the Easter egg hunt. Before we get to that, I guess what we want to focus on, and since Freeholder Armwood's on set with us today, is the fact that how towns and communities, the Board of Chosen Freeholders and towns handle redevelopment and business development in general within their communities. And there's many tactics that are used by, I know Jim Clarkin will go into it at length, whether it be land use and or where the traffic, how that's handled at redevelopment sites, how do you entice businesses to come within the community to create jobs and things like that. And that's a very big hot topic in general in the state of New Jersey, because in order to have a county and or a municipality to thrive in this state, you have to have a viable business community as well as a viable residential community within your town. So they both go hand in hand, because people, a lot of times they do work where they live, a lot of cases, and sometimes they don't. But it's a way of how communities, the economic vitality of the
and how they thrive.
viabilities of the communities. And I think that's committed. So maybe, Jim, what we're going to do is we're going to start you off, and then maybe the freeholder can chime in anyone. Obviously, the councilwoman can chime in anytime she wants. That's the prerogative. So go ahead, take it away, Councilor.
Happy to do so, Mayor. Communities can't be static. They always have to be moving forward. And no matter how good your economic development team is, you're always going to have challenges. Let's take, for example, the Dow Chemical site. That's down on River Road on the Middlesex Borough border. For decades, it contaminated the properties around it, but it also employed 7,000 people.
It was basically a petrochemical site.
Yes, it was, and it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And Jim, you and I can remember that.
Yes, we can.
You're a little older than me,
And
but as a kid growing up, and
we would smell it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, it had a lot of noxious effects, but bottom line is it closed, all right? And it's 200 and some odd acres, and it's a classic opportunity to take a fallow piece of ground that's unproductive, that is generating less and less tax revenue, and remediate the contamination, bring a new use to the property, bring jobs, and in that case, they're going to pay for the reconstruction of Bakeland Avenue, which is over a mile long, from its beginning at River Road to its end at Possumtown Road. And their money that they're going to pay us, which is a payment in lieu of taxes, it's something different than conventional taxes. And it's a mechanism that the state government years ago put into play, and every forward-looking town takes advantage of it, just like Piscataway. And the whole idea is to give a little bit of an incentive to the developer so that they will take this terrible piece of property and put it into use. And what happens, okay, is you end up with a situation where you're going to get a lot greater revenue stream, much more in taxes than you would for conventionally taxed property that was underperforming or vacant or abandoned.
Now, for the folks out in the viewership area, and as I know, Freeholder, that site and several other sites in our town, and I know there's a lot of sites up in Perth Amboy and other areas, you know, New Brunswick, those sites are considered brownfield sites. Brownfields are basically sites that are contaminated. They've been off the tax rolls. And that is the challenge at the county level. How do you work with communities to try to get these brownfield sites back on the paying taxes?
Well, it takes good partnerships at the municipal level. You know, as with the county government, obviously we don't go in and dictate what happens there. So it takes having leaders with vision as far as how they see their township, their municipality, or their borough looking, not just for now in 2018, but projecting out to 2050, 2075. What is their town going to look like? How do we get the best educated people so that when a company looks to relocate here or build their business here, they know they have a qualified workforce that they can rely upon to fill their slot? So I really have to give a lot of thanks to our partners on the municipal level. A lot of them outside of Piscataway, of course, I'm very partial to Piscataway, but even outside of Piscataway, there's some great things happening around the county. As you mentioned, Perth Amboy, East Brunswick, Mayor Cohen's doing some really innovative things over there.
And his challenge out there, as Jim knows, is the Route 18 corridor.
Right.
You know, the bricks and mortar buildings in days with the economy changing, as Gabrielle, you know, in retail with the Amazon economy now, these bricks and mortar sites, commercial sites, are under siege, basically.
And just to follow up on what Freeholder Armwood said, you know, it is a partnership, and it goes both ways. We had the support of the county. You have to remember, River Road is a county road, so the Middlesex County Planning Board had to approve the application for the redevelopment of the Dow Chemical site. They also were instrumental in getting the traffic signal constructed and approved, and these are the things you know, that, you know, we really need to continue if we're going to continue to do our economic development job.
Well, I want to highlight on 2 points, Jim, that you basically brought up early on. The Bakeland Avenue between Middlesex Borough and Piscataway Township is probably arguably the worst road as in condition in both communities.
It is, and the bond that we're going to use to reconstruct that road, the bond payments are going to be made by the developer of that property.
If I could, just to speak to Bakeland Avenue, because probably a lot of people in town really don't know about it because it's more of a commercial road. But so this whole redevelopment area where over by the Dow Chemical area is being completely reconstructed, where we have tractor trailers who come in and out of there, and there's going to be some sort of rail in there.
The rail spurs.
The rail spurs will be upgraded, which would, you know, and there's another part of town too, not to we can talk about the other part of town where the rail spur is being upgraded for another company that's also coming into town.
Well, you know what, and Councilwoman Cahill just brought a very good point. You're not only dealing with the county government, Middlesex Borough government, Piscataway Township, you're dealing with the state. I mean, the county's doing the culvert bridge on Bakeland Avenue, which should be under construction over the summer. You're dealing with the Department of Transportation Freight Division, because they're going in to drop new freight crossings out there on Bakeland Avenue, which is part of the cartway. I know some of the residents use that back road now that they saw last summer, that the 2 of the freight crossings were retrofitted out. And they're going to retrofit another 2 or 3 of the rail crossings in that back there. So there is so much coordination between the DEP. I think, to me as mayor, I'm just amazed that it's actually all coming together. But for the general public, I don't think they have a true understanding of how much coordination is required by all these entities of government to get something back on the tax rolls.
You know, it's not always the case. The government grinds along slowly.
Yeah.
All right, we've been able to put together a team, all right, that has moved things quicker, and that's part of what I pride ourselves on in Piscataway of doing. When somebody contacts us saying they'd like to consider relocating to Piscataway, we jump into action. All right. They have to pass all the laws and abide by all the ordinances, all right, but there are ways that we can expedite development, and we do. And just getting back to the Bakeland Avenue reconstruction, there's numerous other properties out there that are either vacant or very underutilized.
And for those folks that don't understand, going back in the 60s and even to a certain extent the 1970s, that was our industrial, and still is to a certain extent, our industrial corridor out there. And the reason why it is because it's near rail, and it's not too far away from 287. 287, one of the biggest selling points Piscataway Township has, are the 4 exits along 287. That's why we have the Centennial Avenue corridor, which was designed and built out in various phases for 30-year periods starting in the 60s. And that's why corporations and commercial entities have located in Piscataway. And it's no different at the freeholder level. That whole 287 corridor going from the Raritan River all the way down to Perth Amboy, where it turns into 440, is an economic generator.
Well, we're uniquely situated where we are in New Jersey and in the country. We're right at the crossroads of the Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway. You've got Route 1 coming through here. We have the Northeast Corridor line, the busiest train line in the United States of America. And from New York to Trenton, we have the most stops there. The Turnpike, we have the most stops in Middlesex County. So we're uniquely situated for businesses looking to really expand and thrive.
And to add to that, the fact that we've got these 4 interchanges on 287 allows us to take some of these redeveloped sites and, for example, warehouses.
Well, actually, it's technically 5, but we share one with South Plainfield.
Yes, we do. But what we have is we have 5 interchanges where we can locate some of the uses that, not everybody wants to see, but they're necessary. All right? And let's not dodge the issue, okay? Some people don't like warehouses, but as Councilwoman Cahill indicated, and you did too, all right, we're in a different market when it comes to retail. All right, and the brick and mortar stores are going, and the warehouses and the fulfillment centers are the ones that are the wave of the future. And what we're doing is trying to locate them right next to those interchanges, so it's the shortest distance where these trucks have to travel through our town. Certainly not through residential areas. We get them right out onto 287 and on their way.
And that was the whole design of the Centennial Avenue corridor going back in the 1960s when the late Hank Zanetti Sr., who was the engineer, decided to design a parallel roadway from River Road all the way down to Hadley Road, and then Hadley Road became another connector. That has become our economic lifeline. That has kept Piscataway reasonable to live in.
Right. And if we go back in not too far past, we all lived through the downturn economy in 08, the crash, and all those businesses that started going away and were folding up all along Centennial. And how many vacancies did we have? And we're unique here in Piscataway for several reasons. The university's here, so a lot of what the university has is off the tax rolls, right? Their land, and then when they see an opportunity with empty office space, they jump on it, and then that becomes off the tax roll. So really, for the average resident, if the township is proactive in looking and marketing the town to get businesses in, that's actually better than letting these office spaces go vacant and having potential, university or other entities that may not be taxed come into the space.
Well, that's another big thing is that the councilwoman said, working, with the Blaustein School back in the 2008, as the councilwoman said, the corridor from Bridgewater down to the Edison Turnpike had the highest vacancy in the state of New Jersey for a 5-year period. It was like running at 42%.
Right.
And, Edison felt it, South Plainfield felt it, we felt it, everybody along there. And you know what? I'd much rather have the town control its own destiny and decide what's going in the sites, because we've had an instance where we had the university go in and buy a large corporate track on Knightsbridge Road next to Centennial Avenue, took $500,000 off the tax rolls.
Right. And we love the university, and I was going to talk about that. We were talking about having the population that are employable for these companies to come in. The university is also a partner, right? They're here, uniquely situated. I mean, we have pharmaceuticals in town, we have tech companies in town. Surely they're going to Rutgers University to look for some of the best to stay here in town, which is advantageous, right? We're a highly educated town, and that is fabulous. But to your point, and to the point I was making, is that we should be the ones, as you say, to actually direct our future and to make sure that we're protecting the residents.
In the county, has the same vision, because they have to look at the overall picture too.
Sure.
Not just in Piscataway Township.
Sure, and to something that Mr. Clarkin was talking about earlier, too, about being smart about how we do it. I know one of the big concerns that residents here in Piscataway have had is about truck traffic on River Road, and we're advocating, too, to get the truck traffic off of River Road, use Centennial Avenue, make sure that our other streets are light traffic,
which they are. It's all the streets surrounding that area. It's been on the books since the mid '60s as light traffic.
It's light traffic.
Plainfield Avenue, it's all light traffic.
But it's all and actually, if you think about it, what has sort of been going on in town really started when they were able to start completing the Route 18 extension, right, and finish it, which sort of goes hand in hand with what Councilman Kahn's trying to do, and which the Freeholder was just talking about, was getting the truck traffic off River Road. I can remember when I moved into town in 2000, I was shown the master plan of how Route 18 would be extended past River Road instead of dumping into it, and that trucks would eventually come off. So that Route 18 extension is finally coming to an end. It's almost there. There's just some paperwork, I'm assuming, that has to be done. And so Councilman Kahn is working hard to make sure that we're proactive in trying to get the trucks off River Road and go that way. And it's a promise I've been looking forward to being fulfilled for quite some time.
And one of the things that the council has done, we did hire an engineering firm to do the counts and everything. We have to present information to the Board of Chosen Freeholder and the County Engineering Department to see if they would sign on to it. And if they do, in theory, then it has to go down to the Department of Transportation, which ultimately is going to have final jurisdiction whether that becomes a light traffic street or not. Jim, you had something you were going to say?
I was going to follow up on what each of you said with respect to jobs and with respect to the type of businesses that we're getting. For example, you mentioned another redevelopment site with a rail crossing. That's going to be a manufacturing facility. Now, when was the last time you heard that a town was able to add manufacturing jobs?
That doesn't happen too often in the state of New Jersey.
And because of Rutgers, and building on what you said, Gabrielle, the average salary for hundreds, they're going to have over 300 employees there, is $75,000.
And you were talking about Kinkasharo.
No, that's the Turner Place.
Oh, the Turner Place.
The Turner Place. Kinkasharo.
Kinkasharo is a whole other issue.
It's another home run for us, because what they're doing at that site, and it's off of Bakeland Avenue, is they repair and refurbish railroad cars. And they're actually
I thought it was very
them
fascinating that they
I didn't get to see them. I heard that you had a great tour of the
I
place.
have, just for the viewership, we've had so many calls to my office about, is this company going to offer tours of the site?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of rail buffs that really, I mean, we've gotten calls from all over the state of New Jersey wanting to know that, there was an article in the Home News and on our website about that, publicizing that. As a matter of fact, they're actually looking to make that their Northeast corporate office.
Yes, they are.
Right there.
Yep,
So.
and getting Bakeland Avenue reconstructed will only help us to attract them quicker. What I find fascinating about the design is that they have these overhead doors, all right, and the railroad cars come by rail, and they open the door and through the track and right inside.
Oh, they come by rail to be repaired.
Yes.
They come right by rail.
Yes.
They're refurbishing an older car too, right?
Yes, they do a lot of refurbishing, a lot of antique rail cars too. And I think that's what's caught
Locomotives, and they're doing half of the Philadelphia Southeast Pennsylvania
SEPTA.
Transit, SEPTA.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, they've got a
Yeah,
contract for that.
they're adding the positive train control, on the safety matters where trains have to come to a
Right.
stop when there's an issue. So that's been mandated by the federal government.
And one of the jobs I know they're looking for, I met with a representative from the company, is they're looking for welders.
That's
And
the
they
big
can't
thing. They're looking for welders.
Can't get enough welders. So
Yeah.
if you're a welder out there,
Yeah.
out there in television land, there's a job waiting for you.
They need
that's
a
gonna pay
lot of
well.
welders.
And this is a broader issue that I think that the country as a whole talks about is how does the average student who gets just, let's say, a Bachelor of Arts really get their dollar's worth after
Yeah.
they've spent all that money at college, where we're finding that welders is a good example. I listened to a whole story about how welders make such a substantial amount of money because think about it. You have oil companies who hire them to bring them out onto the rigs, and they have shows. So the best of the best come to some national show to show to these various companies, how good they are. And these kind of jobs, trade jobs, are sort of coming back into the thought process because not everybody is cut out to go to school.
And that is a big dilemma at the county level where, it's also a national discussion. Trade schools and community college schools are
Right.
becoming very big because that is where a lot of the jobs are being created nationally.
And fortunately, we have great schools here in the county. We have nationally recognized schools from U.S. News and World Report and Newsweek. We have blue ribbon schools in the county, and we have a nice balance between the academies and the vocational schools, and then a nationally renowned county college.
And Mayor, you may remember a few years ago, we amended our zoning ordinance to allow technical schools to be built in more zones than they were previously allowed in. And
Because we
that's
recognize that as
the
a
value
way-
of it.
Value.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
That's good. So we're going to go to. I have the director, the stage director, directing me. We got to go to some of the video clips. So let's go to the first one. This obviously is not a 4th of July fireworks out here now with snow coming down. This is from the two of the March storms, the one that did the most damage in town.
First one, right?
I have to say, obviously that's on Centennial Avenue over by Chanel. That's our sanitation fleet. They mostly stick on the big main roads there. But this storm did so much damage throughout our town, and you're going to see part of that it's almost comparable. You can see because it's the heavy March snowstorm just took out power lines, and this is down on River Road in the Hose Lane West, right down there. That we're still cleaning it up, and we're going to probably be cleaning this up until.
It's down by my house.
Yeah, we're going to be cleaning the entire town up at least probably until maybe early June, and that's one of the things I want the residents to just be cognizant of that fact that there was so much damage done. I'm just asking them to go to the municipal website, click on the article where it says storm damage, and we have an interactive map that shows what streets the public works have been down. Basically, we're starting from 4 crews, starting from the Edison border along the River Road by Highland Park, by Russell Boulevard, going down River Road, and then we have another crew over in the Arbor section. So we're ultimately going to end up, because there's so much damage, as you see, almost every street, every other house had that type of damage out in front of it. That is very labor intensive. Yesterday, we had a crew out on Smoke Tree Close in Hawthorne off of Wood Lake Drive. They pulled 5 30-yard dumpsters of debris like this out of there. They spent an entire day, 10 hours out there. Public Works have been putting in 10, 12-hour days, working on the weekends 6 days a week now since that storm to try to get the town cleaned up. And I'm just asking the residents, just be patient, just keep looking at the map. If we've gone through your neighborhood, we're not coming back. That's a picture of Ross Hall Boulevard being cleaned up. But you have to remember, we can't come back because with the amount of damage that's in town. So if you look on the map and you haven't gotten your stuff out there, you better get it out there. Because otherwise you need to bring it in through some other means to the recycling center, we'll take care of that. Or you're going to have to pay a private contractor to get rid of it, because we just don't have that flexibility. Because if the same personnel that are cleaning up the town from the storm damage are the same ones that fill the potholes and do the paving, which means all that has been put on hold. The same people who get the parks in shape. It's already April. It's park season, And Kenny, you have the same issue with the county, county parks with all the damage that was done throughout the county. And I just can't reiterate that enough. And I'm asking residents, please do not empty out your entire backyard. This is not a free shot where you can just finally get rid of 30 years of debris out in your backyard, because that's what's going on now. But, if it was truly from the storm damage, just put it out at the curb. You can always call after, say, June or whatever to add for a curbside pickup, a normal thing. Which, by the way, we're canceling the month, Jim, of May for curbside pickup to allow a fifth crew to help supplement them to get this out, get this picked up. And in the interim, we're having outside private contractors go in and try to help supplement the workforce to clean up our municipal parks.
It's all about priorities, Mayor.
It's what it is. Right. And, I can understand the residents' patience for a month or two, but when people have had a debris sitting in their front lawn to be picked up, they got to understand they just still need to go around town and see that there's so much debris. It's almost comparable to what happened to Hurricane Sandy.
And a couple of days even after the storm, I was driving along the Centennial Corridor, and I noticed it looked like more limbs had come down, maybe because of wind or something like that.
We
so
are having,
after the fact.
As we speak now, we have wind gusts of 35 miles an hour outside, so that's going to add to the problem. We just can't seem to catch a break.
And they have to get ready for a Little League opening up, too.
Well, I think the snow is going to take care of that. So they're coming up, that's a whole other issue. But we do have another clip that we had. Congressman Pallone was gracious enough to stop by the Shore School. And it was great that he stopped by, because the timing was not coincidental, but because of what happened nationally with the gun violence that happened in the Parkland School in Florida. The children, the students at Shore, he had some pertinent questions that he addressed, and he had to speak in layman's term to the students about how Congress and congressional action does and does not take place. But anytime you can get a city member of Congress to stop by and explain some things to the school, which is good. And I had an opportunity to introduce him in front of the Shore School kids and the faculty, and Teresa Rafferty, the superintendent, was there. And so we're going to go to that videotape. It gives me a great honor and pleasure to introduce our United States Congressman. I work very closely with Congressman Pallone and his staff on federal issues that pertain to Piscataway Township. And I want to publicly thank the Congressman for being very responsive to all the residents of our community. And one of the responses is when an invite goes out through the school district to come to a local school, such as Shore School, the Congressman takes time out of being on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. to come and speak with the students here.
I think you know that a few weeks ago, maybe it's a month ago now, we had this mass shooting at a school in Parkland, Florida, and as a result of that, the students that were there and who saw their fellow classmates killed or shot decided to take up the gun safety issue, and they've been organizing marches. There were marches Saturday all over the country, petitioning the state legislature to do more to address the gun safety issue. And I mention that, and we can get into it more if you want, because this is a movement that has really been activated by students, right? Which I think has made it very effective, so that we're already seeing some changes in gun laws, both at the federal and state level. Not enough, in my opinion, but nonetheless, this is a student movement. So it goes to show you that if students want to get involved with something, they can make a difference. On the federal level, I think probably the most important thing that we could do right now to create good jobs that pay well is to have a major infrastructure package. Infrastructure, most people think of as roads, bridges, but it can be mass transit, and it can also be things like expanding broadband or cleaning up toxic waste sites or building new hospitals, right? It's infrastructure refers to structures, bricks and mortar, sometimes we say. When President Trump was running, and he was running against Hillary Clinton as the Democrat, both of them said they wanted a major infrastructure initiative. President Trump said, $1 trillion, maybe $1.5 trillion. But Congress hasn't done it. And I've been critical of President Trump's infrastructure proposal because it doesn't really give any federal money. In other words, it says that, we'll make it easier to permit roads, we'll encourage the state or the town to put up some money. We'd like to get the private industry involved in financing it, but we're not putting up any major federal dollars, if anything. But that's what we need. We need a major infrastructure program at the federal level because roads are falling apart, bridges are falling down. You read about it every day. A lot of areas in the country, not Piscataway, but more rural areas, don't have any broadband connections, so the kids can't even connect with the internet. And I think that would be something that would really make a difference. Now, on the state level, I will mention that Governor Phil Murphy, who's our new governor since January, he has stressed new technology and innovation technology. In other words, New Jersey historically, we think of Thomas Edison, who was at Menlo Park, who invented the light bulb and the phonograph and so many different things. What Governor Murphy says, we need to get back where New Jersey is sort of the innovation center and develops new technology, and then that can create good jobs as well. So there are a lot of things, but a family of four making up to $250,000, or maybe it was $150. We're not sure, but at a certain level, either $150,000 or $250,000, that you would be guaranteed free tuition at a public university. So if you wanted to go to Rutgers, right, you would not essentially pay for the tuition if your income for the family of four was up to that amount. It may have been $150, $250, I don't remember. But the point is to try to make it so that people could go to a public institution without having to pay that freight because it's become so expensive. And I would advocate that. Also, what they advocated, and actually President Obama started with this a few years ago, was that there would be free tuition at community colleges. So if you wanted to go to Middlesex County College, the tuition would be free. Now, you can't just tell those institutions it's free and you can't charge. The federal government would obviously have to provide funding to Middlesex County College or to Rutgers so that they don't have to charge a tuition for people up to a certain income. Now, we don't have any of that. And President Trump and the Republicans who are in charge of Congress now do not advocate that. In fact, the one thing that they don't really talk about at all is education affordability. And I think it's unfortunate. So there's not a consensus about doing something like that. But that's, something you need to do, because if we don't, a lot of kids aren't going to be able to afford to go to college.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to, actually what we're going to do is we're going to go to our monthly announcements. How about that? The Piscataway Health Advisory Commission, along with the Piscataway Township Council, has issued a proclamation to the fact that April is designated as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month. The American Parkinson's Disease Association is the largest grassroots network dedicated to fighting Parkinson's disease and works tirelessly to assist more than 1 million Americans with Parkinson's disease live life to the fullest and face a chronic neurological disorder. On April 14th, APDA will hold their annual Living Well with the Piscataway Conference at the Pines Manor in Edison, New Jersey. For more information about the Health Advisory Commission's programs, conferences, and services, please contact Shalana Williams at 732-745-7520, extension 11, or by email shalana.williams@robertwood.organization. The Mettler Bodine House Museum has released its museum guided tour schedule for the spring. The tours will be on Thursdays noon to 4 p.m. And there will be a special weekend tours on Saturday, April 21st, Sunday the 20th of May, and Saturday the 9th of June. They will run 12:30 to 4 p.m. on those days. The tours will be about an hour and last The last tour on those days will start at 3 p.m. The cost is $5 per person. It's recommended that you register in advance, or you can go to the museum website at mettlerbodinehousemuseum.org or email the mettlerbodine@gmail.com or call 732-463-8363. Reminder that there is still time for Piscataway Clean Team for the annual Community Day cleanup, which happens on April 21st. Rain date is next day as Sunday the 22nd. Your group or organization can register online at piscatawaynj.org, or you can call the Clean Community Day coordinator at 732-968-2460. Groups have until April 13th to register. Individuals are also encouraged to sign up as well. And if you missed the registration date, come to the Piscataway Little League Field on the 21st and sign up there at between 9 and 10 p.m. and you will provide you with your own transportation. And I believe Councilwoman Lombardi is spearheading that. Also, a reminder to all, in the annual Piscataway Street Fair will be happening, rain or shine, on May 12th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Town Hall lawn at 455 Hose Lane. There will be plenty of vendors, community organizations, and food. There will be entertainment activities for kids, and so come out and have a great time. The Street Fair is being presented by the Piscataway Public Relations Advisory Commission. If you need information this event, call our offices at 732-562-2301. And if you have an important document to shred, we will be starting our Clean Communities and Recycling program starting on Saturday, April 7th at Cribbletown Park from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. We will have a shredding truck there from the Safeguard Documents Destruction Inc., and it will be free to Piscataway residents. There will be a limit of 4 bags and boxes should they weigh no more than 10 pounds each. And if you missed the date, we will have more Saturday, April 21st at Riverside Park. Same deal, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And on Saturday, May 5th at the Municipal Building, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. They will shred rain or shine. Fair warning that once they fill the truck that day, they are gone. If you come late, you will see no truck. You're out of luck. Get there early. There are lines. For further information, call recycling@piscatawaynj.org. Or for more information for the rest of the year, we remind you as those dates approach. The 29th Annual Jord Art Show, sponsored by the Piscataway Cultural Arts Commission, will be accepting entries starting May 4th, Friday, May 4th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. and Saturday, May 5th to 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon p.m. in Town Hall. The contest is open to all forms of visual art with size and weight limitations. Categories include painting, photography, mixed media, drawing, and best in show. The winners will be announced in a special reception on Friday, May 18th at 7:30 p.m. All submissions must remain on display for the month show from the 7th of May to June 1st, and the rules and information is on the piscatawaynj.org website. Also, the Cultural Arts Commission is looking for a few good singers to sing the national anthem at our summer concert series. If you have a voice and can sing a cappella, come and audition on Saturday, June 1st from noon to 1 p.m. Town Hall. Auditions are open to adults and high school juniors and seniors. Call the Commission Chair, Kitty Jutner, at 732-563-4117 for more information and to register. And a rebroadcast of this show will be seen throughout the month of April on PC Channel 15, on Cablevision, and Channel 40 on Verizon, and you can watch it at any time or on demand by going to Piscataway NJ website and search the Piscataway PCTV once through all for drop-down menus. So that concludes our monthly announcements, and that was a lot of monthly announcements. We do have some more clips we're going to quickly go over there, so we're going to cue them up so we can quickly get back to our Assistant Township Attorney Jim Clarkin and our County Freeholder Ken Armwood, and also our Councilwoman at Large Gabrielle Cahill. So we're going to the clip here. It's the St. Patrick's Day party at the Senior Citizen Center. And Jim, you're Irish. Everybody got the memo and was wearing green out there.
Yes, they did.
So that was good news out there. They always have a great time at the Senior Center, and I know Jim Ballard's always out there. And so there I had my famous St. Patrick's Day tie there.
Yeah.
Right there. I drag it out a couple times a year. And we had obviously our junior ROTC, Piscataway High School folks. Third Ward Councilman Steve Kahn actually showed up to swing by and talk about with some Irish brogue.
I think he did his DNA, and he said he's like a 5% Irish.
And then obviously permanently camped down at the Senior Center is Jim
His
Ballard.
tie was about 5% green.
Yeah, 5% green on that one. So we're going to go to another one. The Chinese, was the the Lunar New Year, which was held at the senior center, was actually a snow date because the first was canceled because we had that major snowstorm. But I got to tell you, the work that went involved in preparation of this event was phenomenal because of all the costumes that for the Lunar New Year right there and the events. I think it was well received there by all the seniors and people right there, and the performances there. You pay a lot of money in some areas of the country to see performances like that, and this was free of charge right there.
Oh, well, it was the Year of the Dog. So.
Yes, and it was Year of the Dog, and I brought my golden retriever down, Sandy, down that made a courtesy call. And Sandy went around from table to table saying hello and acting as a comfort dog there. And then Councilman Frank Gern stopped by to say hello to some of his constituents out there. And obviously Jim Ballard, who was helping to MC that right there, was talking with some of the senior citizens there. And that was another great event. And you had to wear a red tie because that was significance. The Lunar New Year for this, the color red was big in vote. I didn't have, my dog didn't have red. I didn't know that.
Right.
So I think they were stunned when I brought the dog through the door because this year is a dog. So
Yeah.
and then we had another one, not at the senior center, but this was the fun outfit with the annual Easter egg hunt sponsored by our local PBA. I have to laugh. Every year it is hysterical. I know Freeholder, Armwood, you always go there. They take an hour or more to put all those eggs out there, and then within, 2 or 3 minutes?
Oh, they're gone.
Gone. And I got a courtesy call with the Easter Bunny out there and welcoming him out. So
This year they had all 4 fields going.
yes, they did. And, we were fearing because that was the week of the snowstorm.
Right.
And the snowstorm happened on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and we were lucky that the fields quasi-dried. There were some kids slipping and falling out there where they were getting the eggs.
Hand-to-hand combat.
Yes, it was. It was hand-to-hand combat out there.
Councilman Khan's kids were out there, too.
Yeah. So, and everybody's obviously lining up to get their sugar fix with the peach out there. But this is the, Jim, this is the day for full employment for the dentists. With all the candy out there that are given out to the kids.
Or house cleaners, because the way those kids went through
Or house
eggs,
cleaners. Yeah, I just wish when my kids were younger that they could clean up like that. Wishful thinking on that. Okay, so that concludes all of our announcements and leaves us with about maybe 15 minutes left to go. We want to talk about, probably there was a question, we spoke about the roads with the redevelopment sites. And we might want to talk about the tax impact on what these redevelopment sites do for the town as a whole.
Okay. When you enter into a payment in lieu of taxes agreement, which is an acronym of the pilot, what you're doing is you're recalibrating how the taxes are distributed. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, for example, with a warehouse project, that project will not generate any school-age children. Mm-hmm. So there really is no sound reason why the Board of Education should receive taxes for that particular piece of property. So the portion that the Board of Education would normally get now passes to the municipal government.
But they do receive
Yes.
receive money from that for the school district.
They do. The school district receives the conventional taxes on the land, but the value of the improvements, that portion of the tax bill, that will go totally to the township. And this allows us to do all the things we're doing, getting the infrastructure improved, getting the roads built, funding the bonds, all right, all of which, once again, gets jobs, okay, high-paying jobs. And it's a recognized mechanism that was set up by our state legislatures, a couple of decades ago, but now it's really coming into vogue. And you have to react to what the economy wants. And right now, it's warehouses and it's fulfillment centers, all right? And we want to stay ahead of the curve, and we have been ahead of the curve, and we're going to continue, all right? If we can bring more manufacturing jobs to Piscataway, I've gotten a couple of calls recently, and it's surprising, all right? But there are some companies out there that are looking, to come to Piscataway, and it's manufacturing. So that's important to us because the diversity of our uses is important. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, right? As the saying goes.
Well, that's part of the problem with some of these communities. Like, look, I forget which town it is that there was a thing that where they had a lot of the malls right there just closed, and that was their mainstay up there. So now they're trying to figure out what do they do because now they're losing 25% of their revenue.
Well, just to that point, Mayor, a lot of people may know that Sports Authority has closed in Piscataway at their Centennial Avenue location, and we've been assisting a potential new tenant, which is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week fitness center, to take that space. And once again, they contact us, and we try and guide them through the process as quickly and efficiently as we can.
I know we do have a caller, but before we get to the caller, I want to talk about it, as you touched about the Board of Ed. Most people don't realize that a lot of one of the biggest benefits, and I know Councilmember Cahill knows this about the pilot, is the taxes are stable for that site, and you're not going to have tax appeals. And the implications right now out of the municipal budget, which is in cap, we're spending $3 million a year in tax appeals, monies that where the school district has been paid out their money, the county, the fire districts, all the other taxation, and now the municipal government's on the hook for refunding that money back because by law they're allowed to appeal that in the court.
Math doesn't work right. It's not fair, Mayor. The Board of Education will get in excess of 60 cents on every tax dollar, but we as the municipal government have to pay back 100 cents on the dollar on every tax appeal.
It's basically a subsidy that most people don't realize we're subsidizing the school district in that way.
And the pilot program eliminates any chance for the appeal, which is
just
the bottom line.
And that to as a municipal government, we want to try to minimize, and that goes into the whole thing. People have asked, well, why was there a revalve and stuff, and we'll get to that in a second because that all leads into the refunding. We don't have the luxury anymore of keeping that kind of money tax-wise to refund that. We just don't have the luxury. That's money that we could be spending on fixing the roads, renovating the parks. I mean, most of the town, a lot of these streets were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Some of them were never true streets, where some of these residentials. Kenny knows where he grew up in the North Stoughton region. That was the old tar and chipstone streets. Like, for instance, School Street. The first phase was $1.6 million. The second phase bid just came in. We're going to award it's $2 million. So for that mile-long street, that's $3.6 million. That's very expensive.
It needed a total reconstruction, Mayor. When they built that road in the 30s, they didn't even crown the road. There's no drainage considerations. That's why these cost so much.
You have a lot of areas in town that are similar to that. We could be spending $20 million a year and not even making a dent. We don't have the resources to spend that kind of money. So that's when we have these payment aluminum taxes. We could target that towards road reconstruction to pay the debt on that things. And we're going to get into another issue, but we do have a caller on line one. Welcome to Piscataway. I believe it's Kevin?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
What can I do for you, Kevin?
I was wondering if you or one of your guests and I could explain the term, I think it's community host benefits.
Do you have any other question? Then I'll let you go and we'll try to address it.
It's a buzzword that I heard out there. I was wondering if you guys might explain it or elaborate.
Okay, will do. Thank you, and hopefully spring's coming soon. Right, Kevin? I guess Kevin dropped off Kevin dropped off the line. Okay.
Mayor, we have signed some of these community development agreements with our redevelopers. And basically, for example, the one with the Rockefeller Group, which is redeveloping Dow Chemical, all right, that agreement, okay, the benefit to us is we're going to be able to reconstruct Bakeland Avenue, okay, with the monies from the
$4 million to reconstruct that
At least $4 million. It may even grow to be $5 million.
And that doesn't include what they did on the county road.
Right.
With the county, that was a whole new signalized intersection out there.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll take upfront payments from developers who recognize that their business operation will have a substantial impact on the infrastructure, which includes our roads and our bridges, all right? And we take that money and we use that, all righty, to keep things maintained and plan for road improvements and bridge improvements.
So to Kevin out there, there are some folks that are tied in with the Board of Ed that are saying that we're not getting anything in value. I think the campaign manager who's running for council in the 3rd Ward is out there saying that we didn't get anything. But what they don't realize is that we're getting roads fixed. Like, for instance, the IDT site. Basically, they're putting in a new signalized intersection on Old New Brunswick Road. You might see the traffic stanchion lights up there. It's not operational yet. But that's $500,000 to $750,000 right there. A standard new signalized intersection, and I know Freeholder Armwood understands because the county has a lot of intersections. Minimum is $1 million. A minimum is $1 million. So those are improvements that are being put in place that we now will not have to budget out of our budget.
That's right.
or have to bond for those improvements out there, which would have to be done anyway.
Those who are critical of how things are going at Piscataway really need to educate themselves before they start criticizing, because there's a lot that's going on, and you have to educate yourself before you start making statements.
Well, that's the other thing is that, we're trying our best to try to get the best most about when companies come in, but there's a point where Superior Courts step in and say, not just in Piscataway, any place would say, you're asking the applicant too much to do, because now there's sort of like an involuntary condemnation where you're putting too much restrictions on something that may have been zoned that way all those years.
We have limitations that we have to live within. We have court cases that we have to abide by. And before we ask a developer to contribute either in kind to the township or with dollars and cents, we have to show what is called a nexus, a connection.
Yep.
And without that connection, we can't ask for anything. All right? But we've been very fortunate. We've got a lot of good corporate citizens, people that want to come to Piscataway for all the reasons that Freeholder Armwood and Gabrielle Cahill have said. And, we're going to continue on that path.
Yeah. And go ahead, Freeholder.
Well,
No, please.
Oh, no, I was just going to add to that is that from the experience and what we see in planning board is sometimes it's cringeworthy with what we do ask the businesses. Sometimes, as I learned about how you look at a town and a business that does want to come into town, you still have to ask for the things, ask them to go above and beyond, because we are actually trying to save taxpayers those dollars that would otherwise cost us to build a sidewalk, to repair the curb, dedication of land for a sidewalk. Those are all things that cost the township if we have to go out and acquire.
Yeah, and Jim, and as the councilwoman was just talking about it, and one of the things, like whether it's a county project, we're always on the hook for right-of-way acquisition, and that's a very expensive proposition for towns to do, because land values as a whole have gone up in the town, and we've just completed a reevaluation. By and large, the jump in a lot of the property owners, the single family, has been the jump in their actual land value, not necessarily the dwelling, but the land value. But land value has also gone up in the corporate community, and where we want to retrofit these roads and bring them up to today's standards, you need additional right-of-way to do that, and that falls in your purview, Jim, and you know that very well.
I'm the one who handles all the right-of-way acquisitions and the easements, and it's a major contributing factor to the total cost of a roadway. For School Street, we had to acquire easements and right-of-way from over 90 of our homeowners.
Yeah.
Just one project.
And then, next year when the county goes to reconstruct Washington Avenue from Fleming Street to the bridge, there was 100 plus.
There was 103, Mayor.
103. Right-of-way acquisition out there. So and that's why, people ask, well, how come the roads aren't getting fixed right away like that? Because it may take, this could be a whole nother show, but it may take 7 to 8 to 10 years from the time you start engineering till it gets to your stage, Jim, where the right-of-way acquisition and depending upon where you are in the funding, to get that moving along.
To try and get 93 or 103 acquisitions can sometimes take a couple of years.
Yeah. Now, one of the other things the host communities with some like these pilots, we're going to talk about it next month, but the bottom line is a lot of these pilots not going to just go for paying for fixing the roads, but they're going to fund the construction of the community center.
And the interest on whatever bonds we have to put out.
That's
for
what's
it.
going to go.
And the one thing about these pilot agreements is they run a minimum of 20 years, and almost all the ones that I've done are 30 years.
Yeah.
So
Which
that's
means
a constant revenue stream that you can count on.
Well, that's where now we have a funding mechanism to build the community center. And as Ken, the Freeholder Armwood knew when he was on the town council here, that was one of the things we always said to the residents. We were going to try to do this without a tax impact.
Right.
And because now the economy, things are getting a lot better, and we can do this with the pilots, we're going to be able to construct the site. I know the Board of Chosen Freeholders have helped the town out in regards to this effect, but it's finally going to come to fruition, and we're going to talk about that next month.
When the economy dipped, it's kind of hard to ask a corporation who's laying off 100, 500 employees to then donate to a community center at the same time. So now with the uptick in the economy, this is the time now to have those revenue streams that can help us build the community center.
And the best part about the pilots is, as Jim knows, that money's coming in whether it's vacant or filled.
That is correct.
Because it's a signed agreement.
And it helps for then future budgeting.
Yes.
That's another item that then the municipality looks at those pilot programs that's guaranteed money. You put it into your budget, and you're not wondering whether an appeal's coming.
Yeah. And speaking about road construction, I want to publicly thank the Board of Chosen Freeholders. They awarded the contract in this spring. The section of Ethel Road, Stelton Road from the Ethel Road to the Edison train station is finally going to get underway after 18 years.
Yeah, right.
Now pretty much all the utility companies are out of the way. So the folks in the North Stelton region are finally going to see that come to fruition. And then once that's finished, then we're going to take a look at reconstructing Ethel Road by Star Point Complex.
Sure.
And, we're doing Stelton Road, we're doing School Street this year. We're getting ready next year to do hopefully Brotherhood. We have DEP working with Edison Township on that, and then also Justice Street, and eventually International Avenue. So all the streets over in the North Stelton region within the next 2 to 3 years will be reconstructed, and then now we're going to be assigning engineering firms to start over in some of the areas of Arbor behind the Spain Inn back there. But these are all expensive streets because they were never true streets from the beginning. So, so that's the thing. So we got about 2 minutes left of the program. Any last minute words, Jim?
What I'd like to emphasize is this. I think it's sound policy for a township like Piscataway to be in the redevelopment arena right now. On the one hand, you can sit there with a decaying building and an underutilized piece of property and continue to tax it conventionally and say, get $100,000. The alternative is you enter into a pilot agreement. And yes, do you give a little bit of a break to the developer? Yes, you have to incentivize them to do the redevelopment project. All right? And even after giving a small break to the redeveloper, we end up with far more money than we would if we sat around and did nothing and let the status quo maintain.
But more importantly, with these folks that are redevelopment sites, they have to go to their financiers, the bankers, to make sure the numbers work, because if it doesn't work with the bankers, it doesn't happen.
That's
correct.
correct.
Very complicated to get these projects over the finish line.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. But we're going to talk a little bit about that more. The tax rate's going down 12% this year because of all the redevelopment that's going on. It doesn't happen too often, and I'm suspecting the school district's going down too because they're going to be getting more revenue also because now the corporations are picking up more of the freight. They're picking up 40% of the overall cost now of running the school district in the town, and they should be thankful that that's happening. So we're going to talk a little bit more next month about that in the community center. So we look forward to seeing everybody in the month of April and throughout the month, and we're going to see you in May.